Hey, what is up YouTube? Kolst here, and we are back with this video because there has been a patch, which is actually a hotfix patch, so it's not a true patch, but it is a major patch impacting Arena to basically fix the absolute complete mess of balance that we have in Arena. So this will be the first attempt. Hopefully they'll do a good job with that. It includes a brand new type of change. It's not just micro adjusts, it's a completely new type of change. You'll definitely want to pay attention and see what that is here. It's something they've never been able to do mid-cycle before. I'm also going to spend a later part of this video explaining like the current state of Arena, what cards are even in Arena, trying to answer some of those general questions as well, and also going to have a giveaway. Not sure if I'm actually going to do 1 or 2 bundle giveaways, but they are pre-order bundles that even though you cannot pre-order them anymore, I can still give those out. I'm just not sure if I'm going to do 1 or 2. They are provided by Blizzard. I should need to say that, but also just let me know in the comment section your favorite part of these changes, favorite thing about New Arena, anything like that. And then you will be entered. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel as well to be eligible. But just enter that in the comment section below. But with that, let's go over these patch changes here. There's some stuff for Battlegrounds and other stuff. There's some bug fixes, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just going to focus entirely on the Arena section here. We've adjusted the draft pool and offering rates of several cards, and I'll just explain very quickly. I'm not going to read everything because there's a much simpler way to explain what's happening, but they're adjusting the rates of certain cards. Some classes are getting nerfed, some are getting buffed. And they're also adjusting the draft card pools for a handful of classes as well, swapping certain cards out entirely, including all Hunter WILDSEED cards. So basically, 10 out of the 11 classes are being hit here. That's very significant because normally they don't adjust that many classes, but the reason I'm not listing them off one by one is basically all the classes they're nerfing. If you look at my last tier list video ranking all the classes, yeah, it's all of these except Shaman. Shaman is the one class not being nerfed, and all the classes being buffed are the bottom 6 down here. So these were not very controversial rankings of the classes. It was kind of obvious what the good classes and the bad classes were, so everything should be moving more towards the middle. But interesting that Shaman is the one good class not being nerfed. That might make it very likely that Shaman might be one of the best classes. Also, just off of what they're saying, because they're removing WILDSEEDS and things like that, it's likely Hunter may not be number 1. So the most likely classes I think to be number 1 now are probably going to be Demon Hunter and Shaman. I doubt they're going to buff one of the bad classes to the point where it actually becomes number 1, but you never know. I'll definitely be talking about that sometime this weekend when I do my tier list update video, but for now we just don't know. We expect though that it really couldn't get any worse than it was, and based off what they're saying, which I'll give a little bit more detail on, it's very likely things will be at least much closer to balanced. And as I said, so yeah, I covered the main change here, that they nerfed all the good classes except Shaman. They buffed all of the bad classes as far as general micro adjust, but they also do this draft card pool adjustment. There's only, I believe, 7 classes that are being adjusted here. Of the classes that are being nerfed, there's Hunter, and we know the WILDSEEDS are being gone, that are actually losing potentially some of their good cards, and as well Death Knight is being nerfed, so that actually probably hurts the Red Death Knight. But then all the other classes being adjusted here are all classes that are being buffed, except I believe Mage is the one unlucky class in the lower echelon that is not. So that is very significant there. So that could be very significant. The thing is that we have very little detail other than WILDSEEDS being removed. We don't know exactly what they're doing here. I would guess that for a lot of these bad classes, you know, they're actually going to be removing a lot of the bad cards and replacing them with good cards, potentially. If they saw certain cards that just were not working out like they thought based off of early data, people just weren't picking them, they may be replacing a lot of bad cards with stronger cards. They may not be doing that with Hunter. They might still be doing that with Hunter and Death Knight. Who knows? That's the thing, is like, we just don't know. Are they doing this to nerf Death Knight or buff Death Knight? We really have no idea, right? And we don't know what kind of, we don't have details as well over like which exact cards they buffed, so that's all kind of going to be a question mark for now. But it's very significant that this is, you know, this is something that generally, sometimes they would ban a card here or there, but it was very rare that they would actually do that. But now it seems like this might be a more regular thing, that they're just going to be swapping cards in and out of the draft card pool just mid-rotation like this. So this is a big change for Arena. But then with that, I want to just go into a little bit more detail, just kind of explaining like some context around like what's actually going on, because there are a lot of questions of like, you know, what cards are actually in Arena. So I want to talk about that a little bit. The first thing to talk about with that is that there are certain cards, and we'll talk about how you can know which cards are in, but one thing to be aware of is that for Discover and any kind of random generation effect, basically every card that's ever been made is in the game. Basically, it's all of Wild. There are probably some exceptions. I think like Legacy and maybe some of the early cards that technically don't really exist in Wild anymore. Some of those are not in, but basically you can generate anything. It doesn't matter if a card is draftable or not. You are able to generate basically anything. What seems to be going on from the technical side is that essentially, you know, every card is in. It's just that like the majority of cards are basically banned. So even though every card's in the game, you just can only see like a fourth or so of them in the game. And if you look at like the card website, for example, on the Blizzard website, then it's not very useful because it just shows all of Wild. You can't tell based off of that. And there's no official listing anywhere of what's actually in the game, at least nothing generated by Blizzard. Based off some Blizzard comments I've seen, it seems like this is actually their intentional choice. Like they could give us a text file, but they probably don't want to. And they've just decided, yeah, we'll just let you guys find out and be surprised basically. Because they also could tell us what cards are being adjusted here, but maybe it's too many words and they just don't want to make the patch notes that long. I don't know. But there is a way there's like two ways to know what's actually in the game. And the answer is effectively to just use a third-party tool like HS Replay or Firestone. And you can see, assuming they have the filter, which actually lets you see it well enough, which depending on patch timing and stuff, you may not be able to see a perfectly current list, but you can actually just look for cards and you can see based off of something like, oh, let me see, like are Rifts in? Oh yeah, Rifts are in because there's data for them. That's relatively recent, right? You can do that. And you can also look at that, for example, on Firestone as well. Just based off the separate tools, you know, whichever one you prefer using, they can generally do it pretty well. You know, I like Firestone because that's the draft tool I've been using and the game tool I use, but that'll give you some idea but for example, like you wouldn't be able to see, for example, that like, well, yeah, like now WILDSEEDS are gone, right? So we wouldn't know. It's going to be pretty tricky to find out exactly what's moving in and out all the time. It's going to take some time before we actually know what got even put in the game now. So that's always going to be a little bit of a struggle if you're really trying to pay attention to that stuff. The other comment I wanted to make is just that in general, based off of the appearance rates of some of these cards, which you can actually see better on HS Replay, you know, these are relatively normal looking numbers. So one thing is, which I believe you'll hear some people say, oh, there's way more cards in the game or there's way less cards in the game. I got offered 6 Bridge Rifts or something. Probably not that because that's the lower offering rate card. But they'll say, oh, I got 6 testing dummies. The card pool must be really small. Nah, you just got lucky. Basically, it seems very much like the card pool is about the same size as normal, which means there's like 1,000 cards in the game out of the 4,500 card wild pool. The thing to note with that is that the cards in are from all sets, but they're not randomly distributed like across all time. It's mostly newer cards, and even if you see an older card, it's older cards that were disproportionately powerful for their time. So generally, it is a very, very high power level card pool as well. I can't really cover anything specific about any of these classes as well, especially because it just changed. We don't know the changes, what they're even going to be. So I'll basically leave it at that. But I hope that at least that was a relatively useful, quick explanation of kind of what's going on. I'll probably have a little more detail in some guide video. I definitely feel like it's been a while since I've made a guide, and it definitely seems like, given just the amount the game has changed, it seems like an appropriate time to make a new guide video. So I wouldn't expect that to be necessarily super soon, but I will try to make one at some point in the next couple of weeks or month or two. But I would just say in general, if you are looking for guides on how to play the game, look at some of my more recent guide videos for now, talking about just high power level stuff, because a lot of that would apply. Generally, up until this point in this meta, it was very good though. One big change was that it was actually very good to draft for pretty hard aggro or anti-aggro, one way or the other. But that might completely change with this patch. We just don't know if that's true right now. I'm not sure if I'll know by the time I make a tier list video. I'll try to talk about that if I have gained some sense of that. It's very likely it still stays relatively the same. It may evolve over the next couple weeks or something, but we'll have to see about that. By the time I make a guide video, when I do, I probably will have a better idea and I'll talk about that then. But with that, that's about it. Make sure, again, remember to enter the giveaway by commenting and subscribing to the channel. Just, you can comment really anything about what you like about this patch, don't like about this patch, anything like that, what you think about the state of balance, where you think the new classes will end up. This will be very interesting to see how much things change. But yeah, with that, let me know what you guys think. Appreciate you guys all hanging out. Good luck in the giveaway. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.